This short video is going to discuss functions in Visual Basic.NET. Functions are a special type of procedure that are going to contain a return statement so that they can return one value back to wherever it was called. So functions have to give a return data type when you declare that function in the function header. The function is also going to end with end function, just like your sub procedure ended with end sub. So you have function and then whatever the procedure name is, and again, just like with subs, this procedure name here should represent whatever the task is that that function is performing. And then you have your parameter list next, and then you type as, and then you put whatever the return type is. This is the data type of the value here that's going to be returned. So these must match. If I'm returning a string, this must say as string. If I'm returning a double, then it has to say as double. Now, functions are called from within a statement that will make use of that return value. When we looked at the header, note that the order of the arguments has to correspond to the order of the parameters, just like the number of arguments and the data types also have to correspond. This was the exact same thing as with sub-procedures. However, with functions, we're only going to use by-val parameters because remember, the function is not going to alter any of the arguments it sends over, so you want to use only by-val. And then the function is going to return one single value. Let's look at some sample code. DBL equals calculate DBL num1, comma DBL num2. So here I have two double arguments that should correspond to two double parameters within the header. The name of it is calculate. Now this is going to send the values of DBL num1 and DBL num2 down to that function. It determines the answer and sends the answer back, and then the answer is assigned to DBL result. So we're going to use an assignment statement. And remember, all of that is a statement that uses the equal sign to assign whatever the value is on the left, which is also called an L value, to the variable on the right. Now, if I had just said calculate DBL num1, DBL num2, this actually is calling a sub-procedure, not a function, and it does not return anything, so this will not work, even if you have a function called calculate. So there is a difference, and you need to make sure that you declare your functions correctly using function and using the return data type. Now, the header would look like this. Function, calculate the name, and then by val, DBL num1 is double, by val, DBL num2 is double, and then outside the parentheses I have as double. So this is my return type that I'm going to use when I return the value back. So remember that all functions must be given that return data type. The formal arguments and parameters are always going to be by val here. So these are always by val because we're not going to use any by ref or reference parameters with a function. Within the function, I'm always going to have a statement at the end that's going to return whatever the result of that function was. So return, and in this case, it's DBL result. So this is what it looks like. If I have in a button calc click, and I'm going to declare DBL num1, DBL num2, and DBL result as double. These are going to be my local variables within the button calculate. I have a try, and within my try, I'm going to get the values from two text boxes and convert those to double because they come in as strings and assign them to my two variables. And then my catch is just going to show a message box in case they did not enter numeric values. So if everything's good, then I want to call my function. So calculate DBL num1, DBL num2. It will send these values down. So those values get down. And here is an example of the function. So those values come in. The first value goes to DBL num1. The second value will go to DBL num2. It will calculate the answer, and then in a return statement it will return the answer. So return DBL result. That answer will be sent back up to the call, which is here. That value will then be assigned to my local variable DBL result. And then I can show in my answer LBL result.text equals DBL result.toString. So this is an example of how to use a function, and this is an example of what a function will look like. So don't forget, you will start it out with function, name, your by-val parameters, and then your as, whatever your data type is you're returning. You'll always have a return statement and then end function. That's it for functions in Visual Basic.